Well, Alabama's oldest African-American congregation celebrated their bicentennial right here in Huntsville at St. Bartley Primitive Baptist Church. Our Kenesha Dees has the story on the church's past, present, and future.
From the pulpit to parking lots, members of St. Bartley Primitive Baptist Church are celebrating 200 years and counting. The congregation gathered to open a time capsule stored 20 years ago. Inside are letters from church members to their families. But this church's roots go deeper than this, some 200 years ago. St. Bartley is named after Bartley Harris, who took leadership over the church after a slave, William Harris, founded the congregation that was then called Huntsville African Baptist Church. William Harris had services at what was called Old Georgia Graveyard, a slave cemetery.
We started actually in a graveyard, which is where Huntsville Hospital now sits. The actual parking lot is where our church started.
In 1872, the church moved to Oak Avenue, now William Avenue, and was relocated to Belafonte Avenue in 1965 due to urban renewal. And as if it were divine timing, today the church is having service at a parking lot at MidCity to maintain social distancing during the pandemic.
It feels great celebrating 200 years.
Josephine Robinson is the daughter-in-law to Amos Robinson, the last pastor to serve at the original church ground.
Standing out here with all of my church members is a great feeling because we haven't been together since March.
Other members say they're happy to just be here.
To me, it's grace, a blessing.
Joy of being back together one more time.
And the current pastor, James Mooney, who serves as the 9th pastor and the youngest at 31 years old, says no matter what's going on, the church will remain a strong foundation.
I think that when we look at our history and we look that we have survived wars, the Great Depression, racial injustice, it is an encouragement to us that even as we live in the midst of a global pandemic, that we can survive.
And some big plans ahead for this church in the coming months. In January, they'll be launching an entrepreneur academy for teens, and then in the springtime, they'll also launch a bakery at MidCity as its temporary location, but it'll be permanent in downtown Huntsville. Putting the Valley first, Kenesha Dees, WZDX News.